want is a man who knows when to hold me.
I'll be representing Mr. James.
Don't move.
These are my streets. It's okay, baby.
Like and subscribe may look simple to you, but for us, it's very valuable. So make sure to support us, and thank you for watching.
In Edgewood, Atlanta, Monty James is a 34-year-old mechanic who works at Monty's garage. He hopes to open his garage someday, but he has a lot on his plate. He is a proud father of 3 girls, Sierra, Lauren, and China, who are staying with their grandmother, Catherine, the mother of his ex-wife, Jennifer. Monty has a good relationship with Catherine. He visits the girls regularly and provides financial support to them. Jennifer, on the other hand, is completely another story. Ever since she got together with her boyfriend Joe, a drug dealer terrorizing the neighborhood, she has changed into an uncaring mother who barely sees her children and is only interested in being the queen of the hood, matching her new. So, the responsibility of the children has completely fallen on Monty. During one of his visits to Catherine, who is terminally ill, she asks him to take a seat and tells him to go to the family court and take custody of the children. She doesn't want to see them grow up with her good-for-nothing daughter and her drug dealer boyfriend. Monty told her that he couldn't take care of them full-time because of his job, but she told him she had lung cancer. Catherine has been hanging as long as she could for the girls, but she knows she won't be there long. After Catherine's funeral, Jennifer arrives in her car with Joe and starts to shout like a crazy woman because she wasn't told about her mother's death. Then she creates chaos by trying to take the kids away with her, but Monty doesn't allow her. Aunt Rita also steps in and tells her that it was her mother's wish that the children be with their father, while Monty gets in his car, ready to drive off. But Jennifer started to act like a mother who lost her children and then left after threatening to take Monty to court for a custody battle. On the other side of town, Julia Rossmore, a 31-year-old successful female lawyer who made a partner before the age of 28. She had to work twice as hard to prove herself because her father pushed her to be the best. Although she has found success as a black woman working in the corporate world, she struggles to find a man good enough for her. Monty, who now has 3 girls staying at his home, needs all the money he can get, so he decides to take the job Willie suggested. The job is to drive around Julia in her car dressing according to the required protocol. The offer came from Maya, Monty's neighbor who also works with Julia. It was her recommendation that earned him this job. Monty arrives at Julia's luxury building, where she had a great apartment upstairs, to drive her to the courthouse. Monty has never been one to tolerate working for the corporate society, but he has no choice, and his first day wasn't a bright one. Julia is an impatient and demanding employee. From the moment he met her, she always found his style uncomfortable. He forgot to open the door the first time and opened a rap song while driving, which didn't sit well with her. At the courthouse, Monty sees Julia, who just won a very big case, in action. He speaks to Maya about his first, and then goes to wait outside for her, after Maya reminds him of his new employer's impatient behavior. Meanwhile, in the next courtroom, Joe manages to get out of a lawsuit using his expensive lawyer, who easily managed to win the case for him because nobody was willing to testify against Joe. He celebrates the win with Jennifer, who was there along with his thugs to support him. While Jennifer is going out of the court with her boyfriend, she meets Monty and tries to provoke him by teasing him about his new job as a chauffeur. She boasts about having new thugs who would beat him if he laid a hand on her, and left after reminding him about her intentions to take away the kids. Monty couldn't do anything but stand angry while all this blunt disrespect unfolded right in front of him. Then, Julia's friends, Cynthia and Brenda, get into the car and they start talking about her love life. They told her about the rumors circulating the office that her uncomfortable attitude is related to not getting laid, and informed her about the blind date they set up for her. Although these blind dates end in disaster, Julia decides to give this one a shot because Cynthia insisted on it. But the date with Byron, a rapper who claimed to be in between jobs, turns out to be a catastrophe. After the terrible date night, while Monty drives her home, Julia calls and complains about the date and not being able to find a decent man to Cynthia, who tells her to relax her standards. Immediately after Julia hangs up, Monty gets a call from his neighbor about his kids. He turns around the car and drives to the hospital. Julia couldn't believe what happened. She was annoyed when he took a call during work hours, but she was lost for words when he told her to shut up when she screamed at him, telling him he was fired. At the hospital, Monty had to sit in front of Jennifer, who came with Joe and his thugs. It is revealed that Sierra accidentally started a fire, and the girls were home alone, without adult supervision, until Maya rescued them. Lori Bell, a social services representative, mentions the costly mistake that could have cost the girls their lives and gives temporary custody to their mother until an official court ruling is given. Monty tried to argue against it by stating his reason, but there was nothing he could do to change the officer's mind. Monty almost got into a fight when Joe tried to provoke him, but it didn't last long. Julia, who was taking out her anger on Maya for recommending Monty in the first place, saw the whole thing and felt bad for him. She apologized for her behavior and tried to talk to him, but he told her he wasn't in the mood. She understood. On the next day, Monty is back at Willie's garage, and Willie gets a call about the termination of Monty's employment. Monty has to go to court in 7 days, and his situation is not looking good. After calling 9 lawyers who tell him he needs more money and time, he is frustrated about failing Catherine and going up against his ex-wife, who can afford some expensive lawyers now. After attending a Sunday service at his local church, Monty finds encouragement and talks with Maya and Aunt Rita about Joe, who is recruiting kids at school to do his dirty work. They ask him to come to the community meeting. Meanwhile, Jennifer is abusing the kids, and she has started influencing Sierra to get into the world of drug dealing. One day, Monty gets a call from Sierra's school and goes to find out that Sierra has been caught with drugs. Jennifer and Joe were forcing her to sell drugs by threatening to kill Monty if she refused. While Monty was consoling Sierra, who was crying while telling him why she was caught with drugs, Jennifer barges into the principal's room and starts shouting at the principal for calling Monty, although she didn't pick up when she was called first. Monty gets into another altercation with Joe and is forced to let Sierra go. He can't openly fight Joe since he doesn't want to go back to jail. Left with only one option, Monty decides to try his luck with Julia. He visits her office and waits for her in her office. Then, he asks her to help him, because the public lawyers are not good enough to go up against the expensive lawyers his wife is going to bring. But Julia didn't want to help him because she thought he was going to use them to get government assistance. This makes Monty angry, and he storms out after telling her to get a man. That night, Julia goes on a blind date. Despite her better judgment, she meets a man named Christopher, a gentleman with good looks, and the date to be a fabulous one, right up until his pregnant wife and kid showed up right in front of her when she was about to kiss him. The next day, while Julia was passing by the courtrooms, she saw Monty in the first custody hearing case. She decides to attend and takes a seat. Monty tried to present his case as best as he could, but he was doing a terrible job. He started to get emotional, and the lawyer on the other side was going to win this trial in one day. Julia couldn't take this, so steps and presents herself as his lawyer. She requests a continuance to get up to speed, and it is granted to her. The court gave Monty the right to visit 1 day a week, but Jennifer remained in custody. Monty was grateful to Julia for taking his case. She asks him to bring her any document related to the case that would help them win the case, and he agrees. Then, he attends the community meeting with the councilmen present. All members of the community presented their frustration with the drug problems, but there was nothing that could be done until someone was going to come forward and testify against Joe. Julia and Monty meet and begin to work on his case. After seeing his tax returns and commitment to raising his kids, she confidently tells him they have enough evidence to prepare a solid case. Then, she asks him if there are any surprising things about his past. When he was about to answer, Julia got a call from Cynthia and he got interrupted. Their conversation turns to the blind dates, and on their way out, Monty finds out it is Julia's birthday. Although she wants to go home and get on with her work, Monty decides to surprise her. He takes her to a jazz club, and they have a good time. Julia lets loose and gets drunk. They dance together and share a kiss. Later, Monty drives her home, and they almost sleep together, but Julia starts vomiting and asks him to leave. On the coming day, Julia meets Cynthia and Brenda for lunch. After hearing about Monty, they berate for lowering her standards. Although she tries to convince them he is a good guy, they think she is blowing off some steam. Later, Monty comes up to check on Julia and invites her to meet his girls. Julia meets the girl, and they have some awkward things to say to her. After the kids went to bed, Monty called her out for denying her feelings for him, which she admitted, and they shared a beautiful kiss. In other news, Willie, who was injured in a robbery, calls Monty and tells him that he has decided to retire. Willie decided to give Monty the place for some down payment and some other monthly payments. Although he doesn't want the place under these circumstances, Monty agrees. Julia and Monty go to a water park with the kids and are having a great time. But they get into a fight when Julia doesn't want to publicly admit their relationship when they meet Brenda, who disrespects Monty and tries to shame Julia. At night, the kids return to their mother, and Julia tells Monty about the day she was dumped 2 days before the wedding and asks him to understand her because she is already in love with him, and he accepts. On the next trial, Monty's past came to light. He was falsely convicted of rape for 16 years and did some jail time. Julia was upset after hearing this because he lied to her despite asking him to tell if there was any surprise in his past and told him to find a new lawyer. That night, his girls came home after China was beaten up by Joe. Angry and hurt, Monty drives off and crashes into Jennifer and Joe's car. He brutally beats up Joe, and the whole community comes out to help him and fight Joe's thugs, who arrived at the scene. Both Joe and Monty get arrested, and they are presented at the court. This time, everyone decided to testify against Joe and Jennifer, who face drug charges, so they are taken into custody with no bail allowed. Just when it was Monty's turn, Julia stepped in as Monty's attorney after apologizing to Monty for not hearing his side of the story. The judge dismissed the case since no one would testify against Monty. Those at the courthouse celebrated, and Monty came back to his garage, where he was joined by his 3 daughters and the rest of the community, who gathered to celebrate his release from jail and his new garage.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch other recaps on the screen. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.